This is the 8th grade structure and function of the body video. This video will focus on the nervous system. Okay, we talked before about the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system, as shown here, involves the brain and the spinal cord. It is the main process by which the body functions in terms of making choices, sensing things, moving, things of that nature. So the central nervous system consists of the brain and the spinal cord. The peripheral nervous system is everything else. If you were to touch a pot of boiling water and you were to feel that it was hot, that would be the nerves in your fingers sending information to your spine, to your brain, telling you this is hot, move your hand away. If you were to pick up a handful of snow and you were to sense that it's cold, same process. The peripheral nervous system sends a message to the central nervous system to tell you that the snow is cold. Okay, the overall purpose of the nervous system is to basically send all messages to the brain, and the brain to send messages to every other part of the body to basically function, to tell it what to do. This is why, just as an example, this is why somebody who has a severed spine, severed spinal cord, may not be able to walk because there's no way for the brain to send messages to the legs to say walk and to do that process. That's the purpose of the nervous system. What we're really going to focus on here is things that can negatively affect the nervous system, diseases, problems, things of that nature. These is where the GLEs for 8th grade kind of focus on, so we're going to take a look at that. First thing that can affect the nervous system is a traumatic brain injury. There's been a lot of talk in the news about concussions. A concussion occurs, traumatic brain injury occurs when the brain is kind of hit against the skull. Whiplash, any of these kinds of things, a football tackle, whatever it might be, can cause this. The effects aren't always clear right away, and multiple times, multiple occurrences of this can make it worse. You can lose brain function, you can lose reason, ability, things of that nature. So that's why there's so much concern about that these days, especially with the research that's been coming out on it. So the first thing that can affect the nervous system is a traumatic brain injury. Another thing that can affect the nervous system is meningitis. Meningitis is a bacterial infection. It's a bacterial infection that can get into the spine, into the brain, and it does what an infection does. If you were to cut your hand and you didn't clean it, you got a cut on your hand, you didn't clean it, sometimes it can get a little red, it can get a little infected. The same thing's occurring with meningitis, but it's occurring in your brain and in your spinal cord. That's why it's kind of a bigger deal. It's a bacterial infection. You can treat it with antibiotics, and it does usually clear up. Brain tumor. A tumor is any kind of abnormal development of tissue. And what a tumor does in the brain is, depending on where it's located in the brain, it can affect a whole range of functions. Speech, movement, memory, balance, all of these types of things can be affected by a brain tumor. The problem is that it kills the tissue around it. And when you lose your brain tissue, that part of the brain doesn't function. You can have surgery for this. There are ways to treat it, but it's kind of a pretty serious thing. Another thing that affects the central nervous system is epilepsy. You may have seen this, learned about this. We usually associate epilepsy with seizures. And what it basically is just excessive or abnormal brain cell function. So normally I told you that the brain will send a message to the hand to say make a fist or open the hand up. In that case of epilepsy, the messages aren't being sent correctly, which causes seizure. And that's essentially what epilepsy is. It can be due to brain damage, whatever it might be. A lot of times it's very treatable. Sometimes it's not, but the person can learn to deal with it. But epilepsy is another thing that can affect the nervous system. Another thing that can affect the nervous system is MS, or multiple sclerosis. think of your nerves as electrical wires. In an electrical wire case, that sends power to, say, my computer. Around those electrical wires, you wouldn't want those exposed, because if it was plugged in and you grab the wire with your hand, you'd get shot because it's not insulated. So they put plastic coating around it to keep the wires insulated. Okay, similar thing with the way nerves work. Okay, nerve cells function through an axon, and around that is a sheath of material, of tissue, that protects that and ensures that functions properly. Well, in MS, over time, that tissue around the axon becomes damaged, and just like it would be with similar to the problems one might have if we were to take the plastic off the power cord connecting the computer, problems arise. In MS, it slowly begins to, you lose the function in different parts of your body because messages can't be sent over the axon anymore, through those nerves anymore. And as that deteriorates, and that's, MS is really a deteriorating type disease, the person just continues to lose more and more of the functions of their bodies. So that's another thing that can affect the nervous system. Okay, so prevention. How do you prevent some of these things? Well, number one, with traumatic head injuries, it's important that you're wearing a helmet. Football, baseball, you see guys riding motorcycles wear it. That's kind of a different thing, but anything you can do to protect your brain. You see guys fighting in MMA. A lot of times those guys have issues down the road because they don't have any. They're getting punched in the head and they don't have any protection. So it's very important to protect your brain, and we talk about brain in particular because that's where the housing of the nervous system is, with the central nervous system. Another thing that's important to do is get regular checkups, or go to the doctor if you have symptoms. Like I said, a lot of times these things can be treated as long as you follow doctor's care and instructions. So this has been the Structure and Function Body GLE video for 8th grade.